Hello, everyone, and welcome to Localogy Insider, where we spotlight best practices and strategies in local commerce technology and SMB SaaS. So I'm Mike Boland, Senior Analyst at Localogy, and my guest today is Matthew Marks, who's founder and CEO of Evocalize, which is a platform that enables and democratizes advanced marketing for large and small businesses. So Matt, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we have a lot to talk about, but first let's sort of find out a little bit more about you for those unfamiliar. So tell us a little bit about yourself and Evocalize.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Evocalize we're about a 7-year-old company headquartered in Seattle, Washington, offices in Austin, Texas, venture backed by the largest venture capital firm in the Pacific Northwest, Madrona Venture Group, and the National Association of Realtors and their venture capital arm. We produce, and we'll talk about this, I think, through the course of our discussion. We produce a software called a collaborative marketing platform. And really, as you alluded to, it lets two or more parties execute marketing programs together that they wouldn't be able to execute on their own. And so you appropriately put that sophisticated marketing and democratizing performance marketing.
Yeah, and I want to get more into that concept of collaborative marketing and the types of organizations that may be decentralized, they may be just different factors that it really just hits their goals well. But before we get into some of that sort of product stuff, let's continue with some of the sort of, metadata around the company. So if we could start off just telling us a bit about where Evocalize is sort of as a business, as we're coming up on the end of the first quarter of 2021, any figures you can give us to give us a sense of operational scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we talk about collaborative marketing and our product, we have really two customers. We have partners that we big businesses, right, that we go to market with, and then we have small businesses that use our product in conjunction with their big business partner. And we can get into that in terms of programs. We've been working with Facebook, deep partners with Facebook for over 5 years. We help them design some of their foundational advertising technology on the local end. Google came to us a couple years ago and asked us to deeply partner with them. So Facebook and Google, we've been the silent partner behind the scenes for quite some time with those guys. We've run over 750,000 local programs over the course of the last few years. And so that's accelerating. And hopefully we get a chance to talk about impacts of COVID and digitization of local marketing in the course of these conversations. But the expansion right now and transition is happening faster and faster every day. So our business is reflecting that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go one level deeper on the product and the offering and how it's kind of packaged and priced. Now, you mentioned, a few sort of like go-to-market paths, both directly with SMBs, also through channels, and through some of those larger partner organizations. So give us sort of like the full picture of how you're kind of delivering it. How is it packaged and priced? What's the breakdown in software versus sort of high-touch service in terms of the fulfillment end? How does that all look?
Yeah, totally. Great question. So if we break down, we're fundamentally a technology company. We build software. We have lots of software engineers that build foundational technology, but technology doesn't work on its own. It needs an overwatch, right? So we have probably 20% of our business is helping our partners get the most out of our software and providing a managed overwatch on top of programs.
Yeah.
Our software is execution oriented, right? So our end users push a button and things publish, and so you want to insulate them from the complexities of that and make sure that where the software and the technology doesn't catch any things that go wrong, humans are watching over that. So we have a 24-hour day marketing management team that oversees all of our technology and works to catch anything that goes awry in the process, escalating to the platforms to get their help and resolution when needed. But yeah, fundamentally, we're a technology company. Our partners, we like to work with partners. That's foundationally what we do, and we can talk more about that as we go. So sometimes our partners bring more service, sometimes they bring less service. Either is okay with us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that you can sort of adapt to whatever that partner need is. And it's interesting, it seems like that strikes the right sort of hybrid approach. And we always ask that question because it's such a sort of fundamentally strategic thing in terms of where on that sliding scale you are, because the sort of unit economics of SaaS, of course, are very attractive in terms of just pure software. But of course, in terms of higher value interactions and retention, it always requires somewhat of a human element. So it's like that sort of hybrid approach seems optimal. Now, let's go back to the concept of collaborative marketing, and also in light of all of these sort of partner personas we're talking about. And I guess what I'm getting at there is, what are the specific demand signals that compel this concept of collaborative marketing? I used the term decentralization earlier. What are sort of some of the things that compel it most?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. So we think about elements that are necessary for great, sophisticated ROI driving performance marketing, and frankly, that there are key ingredients that everyone needs. It just so happens that big corporations and direct to consumer corporations specifically have all of those data points in house in most cases, and lots of other businesses don't, and so have been prevented from getting great performance out of digital marketing, or it's really hard, right? And so let me explain what I mean by that. We think about it as a triangle, right? There are really three things that are absolutely critical to run the best marketing programs in the world, right? One is expertise and experience, right? If you're hiring master's degrees, PhDs, folks that have done marketing, they're marketers, they've done great performance marketing for years, they come into the game, they come into the starting point with expertise. They know where to start, right? They're not starting cold, right? So they start with best practices to begin with. Local marketers, a lot of businesses don't have that, right? You're busy running your local business. You don't have time to become a marketing expert. Two, technology, right? Now we can bring technology for automation, but it's hard for some folks to use technology that's disconnected from the other tech that they use, right? So if you use a store system, you use a CRM, you really don't want to use a separate system to try
Yeah.
and automate marketing, right? And third is data, which plays into the tech piece, right? If you don't have data, you cannot run marketing programs in Facebook and Google and Amazon and LinkedIn and elsewhere that the big guys run. All the programs we run for large corporate programs through our technology all rely on first-party data. And what I mean by first-party data is either web signal, customer database, CRM lists. Those are all ingredients that are critical for success on the ground. And so our go-to-market with all of our customers, whether they're marketplaces, e-commerce companies, or CRMs or technology providers, or what we call multi-location brands, corporate group that sponsors local offices, they all fundamentally, one of the groups, and usually it's the local group or the small group, doesn't have one or more of those three ingredients. And so the idea of collaborative marketing is that their partner can enable them with a tool that integrates with the tools they already use, integrates with the data at corporate, starts with best practices for the industry, ensures brand compliance and creative video sharing, and really is a partnership in executing marketing programs like it really always should have been. It's just always been too hard.
Absolutely. And for a lot of those decentralized entities, data is so much more powerful and valuable when it's unified as opposed to just siloed and all over the place. So let's go one sort of level down, or one, further downstream to the actual end user. So we talked about the sort of partner organizations, your channels. Tell us, I guess, two things. One is, what's the typical sort of end user persona? Maybe it's a small business, maybe it's a franchisee. And then what does the product sort of look like from their perspective?
Yeah, no, it's another great question. That's where the rubber meets the road, right? I talk about us having two customers in our business. We're a B2B or B2B to B, a lot of B's, business, right? And so when you're a local user, say a real estate agent or a real estate office or insurance office, a mortgage office, a retail company, right? You're doing the business of your business. You don't want to learn marketing. So what we provide in conjunction with a non-competitive partner in the space, again, that could be a corporate group with their own stores. We provide a platform that makes it really simple to run compliant, performant programs by pushing a button in the tools that these local businesses already use, right? So our partner business, we work with our partner business, say again the corporate group and a distributed organization, to set up what we call blueprints. And blueprints are unique to that organization. They're developed without writing code, but they're very unique to the organization, and they provide the end business, the end user, with in some cases literally a button push and a budget slider, or a button push and a couple questions that they answer. So the local business can put their thumbprint on on the marketing program, but the complexity is taken out of it. And so we get pretty great results from ROI perspective, and we save our users a ton of time in the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're way ahead of the no code trend that's very hot right now in terms of like the development of customized experiences or apps or whatever they may be, without, deep technical knowledge. So you're well ahead of that trend. So
We think about that a lot. Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. So let's, as we like to say and do on the show rather than tell. So are there any sort of like, examples or mini case studies or performance metrics or anything like that that you can sort of specify to, quantify any, all of the above?
Yeah, so we have them for each of our target markets. I mentioned marketplaces. We work with a real estate marketplace called Realtor.com, one of the largest marketplaces, the second largest marketplace out there. We have Wired In. They've actually built user interfaces on top of our public API set. Very simple user interfaces where agents and local brokerages can log into their system that they're already using to do other things with Realtor.com. Log in, make a few choices, and effectively run advertising and marketing programs that are very sophisticated, targeting people who are shopping for homes in their area right now on the site Realtor.com, on the marketplace. And that results in disproportionate outsized performance. We have tens, hundreds of thousands of users using that system. Similarly, we have we call multi-location brand, that where we have a franchisor called Exit Realty, also in the real estate space, that has a centralized brokerage offering, 500 offices, and over 20,000 real estate agents that all have their own unique login to Exit Realty's marketing portal. It's all branded. Everything we do is branded as the local brand, so it's their tool. And the agents have specific programs that they can push buttons and run, say, promote my home, or find new leads for folks in the neighborhood to sell their house. Brokers have their own programs where they can actually set up more sophisticated marketing programs that have rules built in. So the local office, one of the 500 offices, might set up a rule-based program. Every home listing that hits the system now gets marketed in a certain way without them having to touch any of the knobs. Think of it as product inventory. And really it's genericized in that way. And what happens is we end up giving the central organization some great reporting. The system learns and gets smarter from all the use of the network over time. So performance for everyone improves for every new user that's added to the system. And the local users get phenomenal performance. We have users that spend as little as $200 and get 100 qualified leads for their system. So a few data points, but really we have two metrics we look at, Mike. One is time savings. We have saved Exit Realty, for instance. We've taken them from an average of 9 hours a week spent in marketing to 9 minutes a week per user. And we've increased their ROI by 400%. And that's a case study on our site. But it's those are the types of metrics that bring real value to small businesses. And that's what we get excited about.
Yeah, time is something that particularly resonates with them, of course. And 9 hours to 9 minutes, that's impressive. So let's, go beyond the sort of structural merits and the demand that you've characterized and the execution to, the timing. So we're going to go from the why to the why now. And of course, the elephant in the room, and you mentioned it earlier, is COVID. And in the COVID era, the demand signals have shifted. The ground has shifted. Generally speaking, all things digital or software oriented in marketing and e-commerce have tended to sort of perform well with those realities. But how has it particularly affected your business? And have you sort of pivoted or leaned into any sort of new demand signals, and what's kind of different about the business?
Yeah, COVID's impacted a lot. When COVID first started, of course, our headquarters is in Seattle, so we were hit very, very
Oh,
soon,
right, very early.
and yeah, very early. We got together as a leadership team in our company and thought about what we could do to help. And we decided that the first thing that we could do, we had a lot of data on local marketing. So we began publishing a COVID marketing in Facebook, one of our largest partner channel, report month over month. And we looked at like, is it valuable to advertise right now, this month, in Facebook and on digital channels? And you looked at those, and again, there's a lot of scale passing through our technology. And so we're able to get a pretty large aggregated look at demand. And what we saw was fascinating. Demand fell off for about a week and performance fell off for about a week when about this time last year, frankly. And then it accelerated. And our business accelerated with it as folks were forced, some for the first time, to change or shift their marketing mix from print and postcards and mailers to digital. And so performance just skyrocketed as people spent more and more time in digital channels. So we know now that digital channels, in comparison to print, radio, TV, account for over 60% of the time that people spend in spending their time getting information, spending time with friends. That only accelerated during COVID. And the interesting part about that, Mike, is that corporate groups pivoted much faster than local groups. So maybe not surprisingly, right? Corporate marketing groups changed. And so they all of a sudden are spending 2/3 of their money because they're spending where the eyeballs are. They're spending according to time spent, right? So 2/3 of the money shifted to digital spend and only 1/3 on traditional TV, radio, print. And local marketing is behind. So it's just harder for them. So they're trying to shift, but they're not there yet. Our data suggests they're still spending less than 50% of their budgets on digital, but they're accelerating quickly. We think that's sticky. We think that's sticky. We think this has become a training ground that will last.
Yeah. Now, to that point, one of the questions we keep asking ourselves and asking all the sort of market leaders we're talking to is what of those sort of new behaviors on the part of the businesses will sustain semi-permanently. I mean, they've been forced to develop new muscles over the last year. So will they be perpetually exercising those muscles in the post-COVID world?
I think they will. I mean, it's still complicated for them, though, right? If we talked earlier about time savings, we talked about data. I mean, look, this is getting harder. The cookie. If people out there are following the developments of the privacy changes and policy changes around digital privacy and policy, the thing that most folks are not talking about, this may be some of these changes that restrict use of data collection. And effectively the bedrock of digital advertising, the third-party cookie, is going away. It's going to go away over the course of the next 2 years, right? And one thing that folks don't spend enough time talking about is the impact on small and local business advertising of the cookie going away. That's going to make things harder for local businesses. The third-party audiences that have been there, that have been the bedrock of local advertising, are not going to be there in the same way.
Yeah.
The walled gardens are really where you need to participate. And so COVID is seismic and a seismic change. I think you're right. It's helped develop new muscle, but new muscle is needed even further as the cookie is going away. And frankly, we as solution providers, we have solutions to these problems and the cookie problems, but we as technology solutions providers need to do a better job helping local businesses get through this, right? And not see the disruption they could otherwise see in this cookieless future.
Yeah, and earlier we were talking about the value of unified data. And in the cookieless future, first party data becomes that much more valuable because third party data is shut off. And as a small business, your corpus of first party data is not that large. But if you're part of a larger organization that can be shared with different trends and a network effect, that certainly sort of solves that problem. Now, let's kind of take a forward looking look, of course, to the extent that you can without giving away sort of roadmap details. But I'm curious sort of where you're looking next in terms of areas of expansion, where there's unmet need, where kind of what you build kind of maps well to sort of areas, whether it be new verticals or new functional expansion in terms of new feature sets, either one.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I'll start back at the triangle I talked about earlier with the intersection of experience, technology, and data. Those critical ingredients for marketing performance success, right? That's not unique to any one industry. Every industry has those characteristics and has those needs, right? So we think about, we started in the real estate business and real estate industry, highly fragmented, interesting working relationships with contractor employer relationships in the industry. But this idea that financial services companies, wealth advisor networks, insurance companies, retailers, restaurants, fitness centers, service providers, they all have the same problem. They all have the same problem. And really, the solution is the same. So we've developed, again, in our technology, we've developed an industry agnostic approach that I mentioned earlier in terms of blueprints. So every industry and every company can have their own specific programs that can unlock this potential. So we're moving across verticals. We're already in wealth, already in wealth advisory. We're already in insurance and mortgage. We're moving into restaurants. So that's already going. In terms of product functionality, those new verticals bring new demands, right? And so we think about new channels, new platforms first and foremost. So I talked about Facebook and Instagram and the Facebook platform. I've mentioned Google. We're launching right now. We're in beta with a search product to make Google search easy to run for local businesses. We're exploring and in proof of concepts with platforms like LinkedIn and Amazon. As you move into new verticals, the demands change and the platforms change. So we're looking at those new verticals and experimenting with them. We intend to launch 2 to 3 more platforms on our system this year. And then taking that one step further, our mission is to democratize sophisticated marketing. That means making it simple, right? And so we're developing, we've done some cool experimentation with what we call a magic blueprint that can cross platforms, right? So one program that one or many programs that a local marketer could run that optimize automatically across platforms. So where the demand can be met, the ROI is highest in Facebook or Instagram, we go there. Where it's highest in Google, where it's highest in Amazon, the demand automatically shifts and pulls in ROI, because at the end of the day, the local marketer doesn't care I'm convinced they don't care where the performance comes from. They just want results. So that's some exciting stuff we're working on right now, and we're pretty fired up about this year.
Yeah, and I imagine you have one eye on some of the emerging platforms too. There's TikTok, Clubhouse. Is sort of underdeveloped, uncertain. There's even some geopolitical uncertainty around it. But yeah, I imagine you got one eye on what's happening there and the audiences they're building and how that fits in. So, what are, as just to close out here, what are you sort of most excited about? You told us a little bit about sort of from a product perspective, the things you're working on, the things you're rolling out. What do you, Matt, or what are you most excited about in terms of where the business is and what you're working on now and what we can expect from Evocalize for the remainder of 2021?
Yeah, Mike. So I get particularly fired up about this stuff, right? Because this is business changing. I think not just what we're doing, but the concept. of this collaborative marketing is business changing for a lot of organizations, right? Local marketers, for the first time, we have the sophistication to be able to hand simple tools to them to generate their own demand, to hold the keys in their own hand that drive their own business, right? And that our proof points actually for our corporate only clients, when we compare performance from our corporate owning clients and our collaborative marketing local partners, our local partners actually get better performance the majority of the time than our corporate partners. And that's because the local thumbprint matters. The local stamp, the local language, the local imagery, it matters in results, right? And so I'm really excited about where that's going and where the industry is going. I think we can be better. I think we need to be better. So I'm particularly fired up about that and about really handing power and keys down to truly democratize sophisticated marketing with end users. I'm also excited about partnering because our market go-to-market model is a partnership-based model. We feel like by integrating our tools into your existing CRM, your existing email automation, your existing SMS or chatbot integration, your corporate tools, right? You're giving a one-stop shop. So there's always been this, to me, false choice of best in breed versus best in class. And we feel like we can collapse that together, Mike, and give folks the combination of both through our go-to-market model and muscle.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. It's going to be sort of fun to watch that as an analyst. We're going to keep our eye on you, possibly have you back on the show to talk about how that's all sort of panning out in the near future. So that's actually all the time we have. I want to thank you, Matt, for spending time with us.
Mike, it's been great. Thanks so much for having us.
Yes, fun conversation. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more from Localogy, including thought leadership and events and written narratives. So this has been Localogy Insider. I'm Mike Boland. Thanks for watching.